failure is as important as success. You cannot succeed without having failed. You cannot enjoy that success without having failed several times and learning that lesson to come there.
Everyone, this is Siddharth Karnik. He's an Indian film and television actor. He's done some amazing shows that your parents would remember, like Mahi Way, Rishta.com, which is very popular. And we've seen him recently in Thappad. Also, he's been in the Rajnigandha ad, Samsung ad, and some other ads. He's a really cool guy. He's a motorcycle monk. He loves traveling, loves photography, loves dogs. He is also a TEDx speaker, motivational talker, and he's got his own YouTube channel where he vlogs all his trips. So I'm really glad to have you on the show because my channel is all about fitness, inspiration, and you truly are an inspiration.
Oh, thanks, man. That's very kind of you. You've said so many things. I don't know what more to say. I'm feeling a little shy now, but thank you.
Now, Siddharth, you had a dream. You had a dream as a kid. What was that dream? What was your dream? Was it always acting or was it something else?
Two things you said right now, which I want to touch upon. First, how do I deal with failure? Yeah. And what are my dreams? So let's start with dreams first, and then we'll come back to this terminology failure, which I want to elaborate more on. We all have dreams. It's how we are nurtured. It's how it's marketed to us as well, right? That's what we are constantly consuming. You have a dream, you work towards it. So my dream was to, when I started acting, to live in a sea-facing flat right next to Shah Rukh Khan. That was my dream.
Right.
Yeah. 10 years into working hard, I got that dream. Right. I was living that life, but it wasn't making me happy. So I put 10 years into achieving that dream. And when I got my dream, it didn't feel like how I should be feeling. So what happened then, I started really introspecting, and I came to the conclusion that, all right, it's when you achieve a dream, when you buy that expensive car, when you go from a 4-pack to a 6-pack, when you lose your 20 kilos, sure, you get that, and it's that moment that is ecstatic. You got it, it's great, and then with anything great, the novelty starts to go down. Yeah. And then the entire thing, okay, I got it, but now I got to maintain it as well. Right? And then you're putting in more work. So I don't give much emphasis to dreams anymore. It's great as something to look forward to, like a goal in life, sure. But I give more emphasis to choosing a lifestyle which will head towards that dream. So what will happen then? My journey to come to that dream, I'm enjoying it more because I'm seeing it as a lifestyle. I might take a little more time to achieve it because I'm setting my lifestyle towards it. But once I'm there, right, it doesn't matter. Oh, I hit the mark, but I'm enjoying this entire thing. So, for example, to lose 20 kilos, if that's your dream, if that's your goal, right, you go to the gym, work hard. You've got to that point where you've lost 20 kilos, great. Then you got to maintain that. And you don't like gymming so much. No, buddy, I hate gymming, man, but I still did it. Right? As opposed to, okay, I need to lose 20 kilos. Let's create a lifestyle which is going to give me that. How am I going to do it? Gym is one. Playing a sport is another. Boxing is the third. Right? Okay, I enjoy boxing. I enjoy playing a sport. Let's play that sport. And instead of in 3 months, in 6 months, I lose that weight. But then what happens is that's the lifestyle. I've achieved my dream, and then I continue to do what I'm doing because that's the lifestyle I've made, and I'm enjoying that. And as a result, the journey to get to that dream has been a lot more fun, engaging, and you keep going more and more and more into it because it's something you enjoy, as opposed to just hitting a mark, boom, I got my dream, okay, now what? Next dream.
Right. So you make it a part of your life, everyday life, something you enjoy, something you like doing.
Work towards it, make it into that lifestyle.
No, that's very well said. I think you have to like what you do as well. To say otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to start hating it.
It's all good. But that's what, when you get to that dream, you're like, is this really what my dream was? Because I'm not happy. Happy is an over-abused word. Let's not use that. I'm not content. And then the introspection started. And that's when I started asking very fundamental questions for myself in my life. And that's when I started redefining what goals are, what dreams are. For me, at least.
No, absolutely. And it's always there. Once you achieve one dream, I think you long to the next dream. And you keep working there. If you're motivated, keep working hard to try and achieve that. And then the next dream and the next one. So
Yeah,
was acting
absolutely.
always what you wanted to do?
No, absolutely not. I never thought I'll be an actor. Um, what did I want to be? First, when I was a little toddler, I wanted to be a bus conductor. Then I wanted to be a businessman. Then
Right.
I was very at the age of 3. My parents tell me this story where my brother wanted to join the army like my father, and I wanted to become a businessman. And at the age of 3, I said, "मैं 1 रुपए का खरीदूंगा और 2 रुपए का बेचूंगा." I had my fundamentals very clear in life, but I didn't become a businessman either. Then the army, that being in the army, that was the most serious sort of profession and career one did consider. And joining the Indian Army kind of became a good thing. But then I saw Top Gun, and I saw it 47 times, and
Right.
I was like, "Nahi, abhi fighter pilot banna hai." And I kind of studied for that, but then I realized that boss, utni padhai nahi hoti mujhse. I'm better off in the army. And when I spoke to my dad about this, my father told me, "All right, if you want to join the army, that's great. You'll make a great officer, but do your college first. Like, don't go through NDA. Do your college first. Enjoy your college life, and then get into IMA and that sort of course." And I listened to his advice. And listening to your father's advice always helps. Always turns out to be the right thing to do in the end.
Especially if he's an army.
Yes, I did not join the army, but I do another kind of shooting where I get more chances to, if it goes wrong, then I can still come back. But
Or
yeah.
respawn, if you say.
Oh, sorry, what?
Or respawn, as we say in
Or
gaming.
respawn, yeah. Or respawn, yeah.
When you finally
Lingo.
became an actor and when you said that I want to act and you told your
Yeah,
father, what was his
yeah.
reaction?
He
Because
was
you
very
being an actor,
encouraging, yeah. Both my parents, not just my father, both my parents were extremely supportive. They said, "Do anything you'd love doing." And my dad told me once that make your hobby your work and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And that's exactly what I did. They were very supportive, not just in that financial thing, because when you come to Bombay or you're starting off, you kind of need that net. You might never even use it. Like I never used the financial help that they offered, but just knowing that the financial help is there. If I need money, they are there to support me. But what was more than that was the emotional help that you need. And that's what I'd like to tell parents who are, if they're listening in and they're supporting your child, it's not just enough to give them money, not give them money, but offer them money. Like I wouldn't say give them money because then they're not working hard enough. And we had this conversation, you and I, about this also when you would come over.
yeah,
But the emotional support, because especially to be an actor or any profession which has a very high rejection rate, you need that support at home, from home, to carry on with what you're doing. And I feel very fortunate that my parents always gave me that.
wow. Truly inspirational. And that's very well said that you even took the parents into consideration because I think it's very important to support your child. As a child, I'm saying, it's
Yeah,
very important to support your child emotionally and of course financially if he requires it. Because when
yeah,
you come to Bombay, getting a job as an actor or as a film professional as well is very hard. Whether
yeah,
sort of acting is so hobbies are the hard, even as a film professional, getting a first job is not easy because
yeah,
there's a huge crowd that everyone wants the job,
yeah,
and it's not easy staying in Bombay. The rents are super high. Like I was
yeah,
paying a bomb for just one BHK in a small little house, paying a bomb
yeah,
for traveling, and people
yeah,
exploit you. That's the worst thing. People
yeah.
exploit you with finances over there. So I
Yeah,
think it's very
but
important.
that's the game, no? You can't blame it on people because they were exploited. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the system. You can't beat the system, right? You can beat the system once you've become like the head of the system. Then sure, go about beating it. There's no point going, "Arey, people are bad, they exploit you." वो तो करने ही वाले हैं. That's a constant. So how do you manage with that? That's the challenge that you got to face. Also about parents financing their children's dream. It's important. Do it with a certain deadline in mind.
Absolutely.
right? It's just don't let it carry on, because the child will also get complacent, right? And they won't try hard. But when there's a deadline that, all right, son, I will support you for 6 months in Bombay. Go live your dream, right? But after 6 months, I'm going to cut you off. Then you're on your own. Then you either come back home and join the family business, or do as I say,
Yeah.
or you live your life, you start earning your money, and we'll take it from there. So it's both the responsibility for the parents, if they're supporting financially, and for the child to know that there is a deadline, that this allowance, this pocket money will stop.
And we had this conversation. So
We did. So I just wanted to share it with everyone, because it's valuable insight.
it is.
We all should have that.
And I feel like I'm having deja vu again. So now, when you're trying to get to your dream, to your lifestyle, through hard work, and you reach failure, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with failure in trying to achieve your goal?
So, the most fundamental thing that I've noticed is that failure has earned an extremely bad reputation, right? We look at failure as a bad thing. And that's the fundamentally, it's wrong. Failure is as important as success. You cannot succeed without having failed. You cannot enjoy that success without having failed several times and learning that lesson to come there. And at the same time, you can't get out of failure without knowing that there is success. It's the yin and the yang. They both go hand in hand together. What's happened is advertisers, marketers, we, education, everything have made failure a very bad word. Yeah, but it's not so. In my life, I've failed so many times, and I guarantee you, every one of us has failed more times than we've succeeded. That's just the nature of success and failure.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful. Today I read this thing called when you succeed, you are introduced to the world. When you fail, the world is introduced to you.
Right.
I'm going to just let that sink in a bit. There's a lot of thing over there. When you fail, the world is introduced to you, right? That's when you actually live in the reality of life. When you're in a path of success, things are manipulated because, hey, he's successful, right? So those people change their behavior towards you, and you are getting a different form of reality. But when you fail, you actually understand, my God, this is the world that I'm living in, right? In that manner, failure is a good thing, right? But we are constantly told, advertising is constantly telling us, don't be a failure, be a winner, right? There's so much emphasis right from the standard one that we go in, below 35 marks, you fail. Arey, wo to failure ho gaya. Arey, wo fail ho gaya. Arey, boss, when you succeed and everybody is with you, when you fail, no one's with you. That's wrong. It's so just the word failure, I want to start. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. We need to embrace this word failure, not look at it as a bad thing. So then it comes to how to deal with failure. Now that we know that failure is not a bad thing, right? Okay, how do you deal with it? Now that you know that, look, you're doing something which everybody has failed in life. So there's relatability. You're not the only one who's gone through it or is going through failure, right? The most successful men and women in their lives have failed. I guarantee you this. They've all failed. And through the lessons of failure, they have succeeded, right? If you ever succeeded in anything, what has given you more lessons? Has success given you more lessons, or has failure given you more lessons?
Failure, always.
Exactly. So how is it a bad thing, firstly? Right? So then it comes to the point of dealing with failure. All right, you failed. Okay, these are the lessons you've learned. Great. Let's move on ahead now. Let's learn from these and try again. And you'll fail again, and that's fine. Right? It's okay to fail. It's great to fail. I'd rather fail 10 times and then succeed, because then my foundation has become so much stronger.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, I think we need to revisit the term failure and how we look at failure. Another thing is how, not just we, but how others react to failure. That's a big one, right? And it starts from school. If a kid has failed 1 year, that same batch who you're into, they look at you as if you're an untouchable. Right?
True.
To yourself monologue is going on, shit, I'm a failure and I have to, my friends are in that batch. They're like, I have lunch and dabba with them and I'm sitting with these guys who are my juniors. The juniors make you feel like you're a failure in life. So everyone's putting you down. It's because this word failure has been really abused. Yeah. So how do you react to failure? How do you react to somebody failing? You react exactly how you react to them when they succeed. You are with them. You rejoice, not rejoice, but you're just kind of with them and you go forward with them. And if that happened, then the world would definitely be a lot better a place. Failure would not be such a bad thing and we would all be just on our way to success. But since that's a very ideal world and ideal worlds don't exist, we got to start that self-monologue for ourselves that failure is not a bad thing, it's a great thing.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, this is how the world is. That when you fail, even your parents are like, you'll be, what do people say, my son failed. Your friends will be ahead of you in class. You'll be embarrassed. And it's like that. It's just like that. And even schools make you feel bad. I really the repeater. Yeah, repeater.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But you can't change the world, of course. Another thing I want to add is that you should be, whenever you're doing something new or you're chasing your dreams or doing anything, you should be prepared for failure. This way, if you're prepared for failure and you fail, you will not be as disheartened as without being prepared. Now, tomorrow, if I want to act and I get rejected in my first audition, and I'm not prepared for rejection, I'll be disheartened and I'll give up my dream. I'll be so embarrassed and disheartened, I'll give up my dream. And this happened to me. My first audition was horrible. And I think everyone's first audition is horrible. Most of them. And I didn't want to go for another audition after that because I said, shit, I mean, ये तो बहुत ही बकवास हो गया, this I can't do this, and I got rejected, and the guy also was there was like, नहीं आपसे सिर्फ 10% हुआ है ना. Then I realized there are a lot of people like me, and everyone gets rejected. So then I went for another one, and then I got used to it. But that first audition was the worst. It took me a lot of guts to go for that first audition, and from there going for the second one took even more guts. So I feel if you're prepared for failure, then it's good. And failure is not a bad thing. We call it, we say it's a bad thing. It's this and not this, learning stuff. I mean,
but how do you prepare for failure?
So you have to be prepared that you might be accepted or you might be rejected. You have to have both the paths clear. You might pass this paper or you might fail it. It can go 50-50. Of course, if you work hard and all, you might pass it. But in something like acting, where it's very uncertain and, out of a million people, one guy will get passed, there's a high probability of failure. So you have to be prepared. Keep it. I might fail, it's okay. Go for the next one. And I think that's very important because, like I mentioned, when you go through failure or your job interview, you fail it, you don't get that job, people get disheartened and they give up. They're like, and they'll get into their comfortable life. I believe if you're chasing a dream, you're obviously not in your comfort zone. You've gotten out of your comfort zone, which is a great step. But now you have to hang in there.
Yes, I agree with what you're saying. But it still takes a very strong mind to have that awareness of being prepared for both. And let's face it, when we are young, we don't have that kind of maturity. It comes, all that you're saying comes out of experience. And no matter how much you would have been told this, your dad would have sat you down and told you about acting, you can still not be prepared for that feeling that's within, that cringe-worthy thing. That's just human emotions. But if you understand that failure is cool, that failure isn't so bad, then automatically that feeling doesn't come in because it's just part of success. I have to fail 10 times before I get succeeded. That's the odds that I'm living in.
Absolutely. And I feel that every great person has failed, whether it was Nikola Tesla, whether it was Einstein, they've all failed.
Yeah.
Edison failed about 99 times and then the 100th time he succeeded. Now, had they all given up, we'd be sitting in the dark probably.
So here's the very interesting insight with Edison, since you mentioned him. You said he failed 99 times and he finally succeeded the 100th time.
Right.
Do you know what? Do you know what he? Somebody had asked him, a reporter had asked him this, and he corrected him on that. He said, "I haven't failed 99 times. My methods have failed 99 times."
Right.
There is a difference. He always approached it with a different thing, and he said, "My methods were failed, not me." And if we also approach that as an actor, for example, right? The interview didn't go well. It's not because of me. It's the method of what I approached it with, or the things I did over there, which failed. Then at least I get to look at it again, as opposed to just put myself down as I'm a failure. And that was a great insight for me, which resonated a lot with me, which I want to share with you all. It's your methods that fail, not you.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to say Edison said, where I learned 99 times on how not to make a light bulb.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's this entire thing about Edison and Tesla, right? Edison was more of a marketer. Tesla is the guy who actually went and did the science.
I know.
So that's a little controversial. Let's not go there.
Absolutely.
Let's take some new people to example of.
So tell me, in your life, you must have gone through a lot of setbacks and failures. How did you deal with them as a person? Or as Siddhant connect who he is today and where he is? Of course, your failures have brought you where you are.
Yeah, horribly, yeah. Horribly. I cried. I put myself down. I would question the very foundation of all the decisions I've ever made in my life. Every unwise thing that one could do, I did. And and nobody can really shield you from that. You know, that's just the evolution. You got to go through all that to come to a point where, you know, you're cool with it, or you're understanding beyond what it actually is, you know. And I think a good sense of that came from the realization that I'm average. And this is something which nobody ever emphasizes on. We're always pushed and told to be great, to be the best, to be awesome, to be superb in what you do, right? Sure, but the fact of the matter is that most of us, all of us in fact, are kind of average, right? And the realization of that, A, brought in humbleness, B, brought in an understanding of having unrealistic expectations from myself, right?
Absolutely.
You got to be superb, man. You got to be the best. You got to be number one. All right, but I'm not. You know, I'll get there, but right now I'm not. I'm number 50 in class. Next year I'll be 49. The year after that I'll be 47, and so on. I can't be number one immediately. And if I am number one, the next year I would probably go back to being number 14. And then I'm depressed again. You know, because I don't have the maturity to understand that, no, this is a progression. It's an evolution. So don't be so hard on yourself. And it helps by saying that I'm average. You know, instead of I'm a winner and those affirmations, at least it doesn't work for me. It puts too much pressure. Unrealistic goals, man. But if I go, hey, I'm average and I've done better than average, boom. You know, I've already I'm feeling better.
So do you feel that you can have more than one dream at one time, or is there only one dream that is actually a dream?
I think most definitely you should have more than one dreams. And I'll tell you another thing about dreams is that it takes time to achieve a big dream, right? And in that time, you have evolved as a person.
Right.
Yeah. So Angad A, who started off with a dream over here, right? In his order to get there, he's Angad B now, and he's kind of about to reach that dream. But it's a different person now. Angad A is very different from Angad B. Now, since Angad B has evolved and learned more things, he's now seeing different dreams, or dreams have higher values, or that dream is more accurate in exactly what it wants, right? So then the dream keeps changing. The dream keeps evolving because you keep evolving as a person. So therefore, most definitely have more dreams than one particular dream. And but like I said about dreams, I'm not much. I'm more into a lifestyle, because when you're trying to live in a dream, you're not living in the present. You're always worrying about the future, regretting the past things to not take you to that future. But if you're living in the lifestyle, it centers you to living in the now, man.
Right.
And that for me, spiritually, that's really resonated a lot for me to live in the present moment.
And how do you, if you, do you think someone should put a deadline to the dream?
Yes.
How do you know when you've not achieved the dream, or now it's time to make a switch?
Deadlines on anything are very important, especially dreams, because that
Right.
keeps you in check. That keeps you, moving forward. It's why deadlines work. Deadlines it's a great tool to achieve anything in life. And sorry, what was the second question you asked?
How do you know when to set that deadline? When
How do you know
that
when
you're
to?
working out and now I need to find something else?
Conversations with yourself, yeah. That's the best way. You are the only one who knows yourself. You are the
Right.
only one who you cannot bullshit. You can tell even your parents and you can bullshit the living daylights out of them, and they also know that you're bullshitting, but because they love you, they'll just carry on, okay, nodding. But more importantly, you know the truth for yourself. So only you know, all right, you know what? I came to Bombay. I gave myself a year to become an actor. It's been a year. I'm not an actor. I'm still a first AD, right?
Right.
But I know that I will get there, right? I know I need some more time. Okay, I will set another deadline, right? And then that carries on, and it's that conversation with myself that's got me there, as opposed to even my best friends telling me or even my parents telling me that चल बेटा वापस आ जा, 1 साल हो गए, तूने बोला था 1 साल, अभी चल वापस आ जा, right? So just the conversation with you are your best friend, man. You're your best critic, you're your best advisor, but you just need to keep that conversation very alive and often. Today's world with social media, especially with this damn phone, which is always taking you away from yourself. You need those times and those tools to keep away. That's why I ride, right? And even as a motorcyclist now, you get these Senas and Scalas and all these Bluetooth devices which are connecting you to your phone inside your helmet, so you can listen to music, you can have those conversations. I don't ride like that. My helmet is still a helmet, and I ride that so that I can get away from all that and have deeper conversations with myself. So I would urge everybody to just find that one thing which allows you to have a conversation with yourself better. It could be playing a sport, it could be swimming, it could be just sitting and meditating, it could be anything that works for you, that resonates for you. Find that, do that more often than not. So you keep the conversation with yourself alive.
Oh, wow, that's truly true. I think today's world, with all the distractions, like we had spoken earlier, with all the distractions, you get carried away and you're just, you're 24/7 stuck to a screen, either your mobile screen, your TV screen, your laptop, and you just stop connecting with yourself. Before you know it, you lose time, you forget who you are, you forget what you actually want, and you're just going the mediocre way of what the world is telling you, or social media is telling you to follow. So I think it is very important to connect with yourself, and that is where your meditation comes in. That is probably why you meditate and you connect with yourself, you talk to yourself, have a dialogue and a conversation with yourself. And yeah, that is truly important.
And just one more thing I'd want to say, Ki, meditation is important, but it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult, especially for young us. I'm going to include myself in this young bracket over here. Where our minds are very restless and meditating is difficult. We cannot shut ourselves off. We are not engineered biologically to not think. That happens at a much later stage in life. So therefore don't meditate, but do things which are equivalent to meditation. Right? Playing a sport, for example, focuses you. You're so focused and you're living in the present. You're doing an activity, but you're so living in the present that is and becomes a kind of meditation. I realize motorcycle riding for me is meditative. 8-10 hours, if I'm on a long ride, I'm not communicating with anybody. What happens is the things on the road become muscle memory, right? I know I need to deaccelerate because that truck's coming. I know all that becomes muscle memory. What happens then is my passive brain is then looking after all the gearing, and my active brain is just within me, talking to myself, having those conversations, singing out loud. laughing at my own jokes. You can turn out to be the best company for yourself, yeah, if you just give it and invest that time in yourself, for yourself.
No, very well said. It couldn't be said. I think very well said. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we'll go through some comments since there's a lot of love
Yes.
coming to you from the comments. So
Yes.
this will be a concluding one. What is the advice that you would like to give, not only to the youth, to everyone, on how they should achieve their goals or their passion or something they long to do?
That's a big one, yeah.
It's a concluding statement. So.
Yeah.
Should be involved.
Think very hard before you set that goal. Just, is it really what you want? Look at yourself in the mirror and spend a lot of time even before you set that goal. Don't go on a whim, don't go on a fancy, don't go on an impulse. Because then once you set that goal, it's not going to shift or change. Right? Once you set that goal, after you've defined it, written it down in words, and you have clarity on it, then let it process for some more time. You can change it back again. Come to a point in a process where, all right, this is in one sentence, this is my goal, and write it down. Okay, this wonderful thing that Jim Carrey did when he was struggling and going through some very difficult times in his life is he wrote a check of $10 million to himself. Yeah, and he pocketed it, and he said, and he wrote a date as well over there. Yeah. And after about 8 years, when he finally did the mask, he was able to cash that check. And that is a dream. That is a dream realized. And that was so clear, right? And here's another thing. You cannot be so, I've always struggled with clarity, finding clarity in life. Like, especially artists, we go through that struggle of finding clarity a lot. Recently, I understood that clarity has got nothing. So you can have clarity without having confidence or certainty. Right? For me, in my definition of clarity, to have clarity, I need to have certainty and I need to have confidence. But that's not true. To have clarity, you need to have a general idea that this is where I want to go. How you will get there, that life will take you there. Jim Carrey, when he wrote this $10 million check, he didn't know that acting and movie work and becoming a movie star will get me that money. He started off as a stand-up comedian, right? The world, because he opened himself to the opportunities, because he knew that dream is set, that deadline is set, he's going to get there. He did get there, but the world played its part. The universe played its part. And that's what I would like to say. When you set that dream, you think very hard, you give it a deadline, and then you work towards it like it's for you. Don't tell anybody you wrote that check. Okay, that's just your own truth. Because then what happens, it goes into showing off sort of a thing. Then what happens, it could go into negative vibe. That girlfriend at that time who you said this to, when she becomes an ex-girlfriend, she can use that to put you down more. Right? If it's an actual dream and truth, just write it for yourself and put a check on it and give it a deadline and come back to it ever so often. I think that's the hard work. That's another thing. Talent is something that all of us are born different with. Yeah. But hard work as a quality, you and I together can it is in our hands how hard we work. Right? You and I can work as hard, exactly the same hard. You and I can be of different heights. You and I can have different talents and skill sets. But the one thing which is there in all our hands is hard work. And therefore, knowing that and using that, you will get to your dream a lot more definitely.
That's a great concluding statement. I think you inspired everyone, and everyone's going to get their checkbook right now and write themselves checks and not tell anyone. But I have to say, this is very well said.
Thank you. And when you write that checks, just write me a check as well and send that to me for this advice. When you're able to cash in the first check, then can send me the second check. How about that?
Account details, please. So I think we had a lovely session, Siddhant. Thank you so much for coming in. I mean, it's been really motivating. I hope people have learned from this and they're going to adapt. You're a really inspirational person. I've always said it. That's why I've always come to you for advice. And Thank you so much for coming on. I loved it. And hope to
Thank
connect with
you.
you soon. And take
Thanks,
care. Have a
Angad.
great evening ahead.
Thanks, Angad.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me over. And thank you, everyone, for attending and giving us your time and giving us a listen when we hope that you got some value out of it.
I think a lot of people will. Stay fit, stay blessed. See you. Take care.